Okay, let's do a follow-up right away here. It's 519. This is video number 90. And this is the second multiple choice question. And I always felt that multiple choice questions, doing them with a class, is a real nice way to learn. But it's supposed to be give and take, and we don't have anything like that here. This one-way learning experience. So let's take a look at this. It says which is not a perfect square trinomial. So it's really, yesterday they asked which one was, 3 weren't, 1 was. Now 3 are going to be, and 1 is not going to be. So let's take a look at the first and the last terms of A, B, C, and D, because if one of these first or last terms is not a perfect square, then we found the answer. But 9, there's a 1 here, you're supposed to know that by now. 4, 4, they're all perfect squares. 4, 4, 36, 36. So it's got to be a problem with the middle term. So let's take a look at what we have here. The square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 4, I'm doing A now, is 2. And then we said the middle terms are going to be 2 times 3 times 2. So that checks. We're going to come back to that and figure, put a check there, and figure out what kind of square it actually is. We'll get back to that in a second. So it can't be A. That is, A is a perfect square trinomial. Again, I'll put a 1 here. We'll need to do that kind of frequently. And the square root of 1 is 1, and the square root of 4 is 2. So in our heads we go 1 times 2, and then of course we double that, so the middle term checks, so that one works. And now we go to C, working the same way, checking our understanding, because the concepts are very important. The square root of 4 is 2, and the square root of 36 is 6. So 2 times 6, and of course we have to double that. Oh my God, we found a mistake. To be a perfect square trinomial, this would have to be 24x. So then we look at, so this is the correct answer. Sorry to block your view there. And now we look at the second one. Well, we figured out why that's the correct answer, but we notice that the middle term is negative. We'll come back to that in a second. But the square root of 4 is 2, the square root of 36 is 6, and 2 times 6, it would just have a negative sign. So we'll put these together. So A, B, and C, we're able not only to find the side of each of these, but we could also, by extension, find the perimeter of these objects. And this is really where you're heading in your math course. This is what they want you to do in high school. So let's figure out what were the numbers here. Well, 3 times 3 is 9. Square root of 9 is 3. Square root of 4 is 2. So I got a 2 here and a 2 here. So there's F and there's last, right? So it's F squared left squared. And then there's an X here. And there's an X here. And then we just add these guys, because 3x times 2 is 6x. 6x again is 12x. And now we find the object that we're looking for. Let me move this over just a little bit over here. And it's a square with a side of 3x plus 2. And it's expressed this way. And that's the area. Okay? If I write it out, that's what the perfect square trinomial looks like. What's the perimeter? Well, it's 4 times 3x plus 2. So the perimeter is 12x plus 4. And we'll talk more about that later. So not only from finding a perfect square trinomial was I able to find out what it really is, but I was able to find out the side of the square and hence the perimeter of this particular object. We'll be doing things like that in a more complicated fashion. This is called factoring when I work backwards. We're not quite there yet formally, but we're sort of doing it already naturally. So we decided that that B is also a perfect square. So what does that look like? Well, square root of 1 is 1, and the square root of 4 is 2. So that means it would be 1x times 1x plus or minus. Obviously it's plus. There we go. And what we really have here is a square, which side is 1x plus 2, and perimeter is 4x plus 8. So we go a little faster now that we get the basic ideas down. And there's its representation in B as a perfect square trinomial. You'll be doing this, so I hope you're paying attention. It's making sense to you. Now I'm going to do it a third time. I'm ignoring C. I can't do anything with C because it's not a perfect square trinomial. So I move everything over a little, and I erase this part up here. And now, whoops, a little dirty here. Have to work on that. Okay. And now we find out what the square is for 4. Well, the square root of 4 is 2, and the square root of 36 is 6, as done before. And so it looks like we have 2x. And looks like the plus sign's not a good idea, so we'll leave that out. And there's 2x, so that gives us a 4x squared. And now we work backwards. Well, the L is going to be 6 times 6, which is 36. But now as we see clearly, it's subtracted. And I'm going to put this all in abstract form before too much time goes by. So yet again, we make our square, and the side is 2x minus 6. The area is 2 minus 6 squared. I multiply everybody by 4, and I get 8x minus 24 for the perimeter. And this gives you a kind of overview of, really where they want you to go. I hope you pause this and you see what I did. Notice I didn't do anything with C. We'll be heading there eventually. So somehow I went from D, for example, to 2x minus 6. I can check myself any time over here. I'm just undoing what I did over here, breaking it into little pieces. Notice that this idea of a perfect square trinomial is going to be very important going ahead. What is, what isn't. And now you get a chance to see that done. So that's 2 videos, and I hope I get some feedback. I'll definitely give you problems on that as we go ahead. So we'll cut it off here. I got done what I needed to get done here, okay? Move this over just a little bit. There we go.